dish. This one. And you can use any seeds that you want. You can use, I mean, you can even use less seeds because sometimes it's quite hardy. Okay, hi. So today I wanted to do a whole food plant-based snack recipe again, featuring one of my favorite crackers that I make as a snack, and it is this seed and millet crackers from the cookbook Be a Plant-Based Woman's Warrior from the Esselstyns. So that is the mom, well, Jane Esselstyn and then Anne Krill Esselstyn. And I had gotten this cookbook maybe last year or like a little bit more than a year ago, just researching some whole food plant-based recipes. And yeah, I'm starting to really like these ones. It used to be that I would get, you know, kind of these these books and I'd be like, yeah, there's just a lot of salad here. There's like a lot of, but I found a lot of good recipes here that I really like, and I do want to do a review of this cookbook for you all. I'm sure many of you have it already, but it is, I find that kind of the ethos of the two authors is a little bit different from, let's say, like a Dr. Greger. Not that they don't have like a ton of, they're packing in, you know, like the vegetables and the seeds and the nuts, but with Dr. Greger, I think he's more of a science, he is putting together this cookbook from more of a, like for his cookbooks, he's putting together his cookbooks more from like a science doctor's perspective, where you're just packing in everything. All of the beans, all of the nuts, seeds, vegetables into like one thing so that you can get as much, you know, goodness in the daily dozen as possible. Whereas even though they have recipes like that in this recipe, I think the Esselstyns here are kind of, I don't know, like they have a sweet tooth as well. Like in this book, they do use tamari and they do use maple syrup, sometimes a lot. So it is a little bit different. It is maybe a little bit more gourmet in a way, or like more of like a traditional cookbook than, you know, a Dr. Greger cookbook would be. Like they're similar, but I do think that in kind of reading through all of the recipes and making, you know, a good dozen recipes in this book, that sometimes it is a little bit like different in some ways. So anyways, we will, yeah, like let me know if you want to see a review of this book. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna prepare their crackers, but I'm going to spice it up a little bit with some curry powder. I wanted to make a curry flavored millet seed whatever cracker. So it turns out really well. So yes, stay tuned. You have a cup of any flour that you want, and I actually mixed a little bit of blue cornmeal with millet flour today, but it's just a cup of any flour that you want. 2 cups of oats. I have some garlic powder, some onion powder, do like half a cup of sunflower seeds. Do a half a cup of white sesame seeds. You can do black sesame seeds. I'm gonna go in with about 2 tablespoons of a flax meal. So that'll just bind everything together and then provide some of that nice omega-3. Just mix all of that together. Put like a half a teaspoon of miso in this. You could have dissolved it in the water first, but I was just lazy. Kind of mix it here. just gonna do this a little bit at a time. I have about 2.5 cups of liquid there. And the end of this resembles actually less of a dough, but more of kind of like a very thick batter. Which is one of the reasons I like this recipe, is just that you don't have to roll it out, you can just spread it on. But for people that, you know, do have the room and the space and you can roll it out, I imagine you can just put less liquid in and then roll it out at this stage, and then you'll have less to dehydrate, I guess. It is also at this stage that if you wanted, you can put in different types of like seasonings. So I have done this with Japanese curry, so I took some Japanese curry powder, and then a lot of actually other things, and then I kind of flavored these crackers. So I can actually do that now. Hold on. Okay, so I have the S&B curry powder. If I were to make this very seasoned, I would add, you know, I would add a bunch of other things like tomato powder. I would add a little bit of, you know, maybe like vinegar, a little bit more sweetener. You know, there's a lot that you can take this to, but let's keep this very simple. All we have is a little bit of miso for salt, and then the curry powder. Okay, and then once you try this, maybe next time you'll say, okay, well, maybe I want more curry powder, or maybe it needs a little bit of sweetness, so I'll put in a little bit of, you know, date sugar, etc., etc. Okay. A little bit more water, just to get this into a paste. Little bit of water here on the side. But I find kind of this method a lot easier for me than having to, you know, roll out the dough. And obviously the name of the game is just to make sure that this has a similar thickness throughout. You know, it can be, the thicker it is, the harder it will be, like just because it's going to be a thicker cracker. But also, if it is uneven, you're going to have a bigger mess because some bits are going to burn, some bits are not. So just make sure that you spread it well. Okay, here's the finished product. You can cut it now, you can cut it a little bit later, or you can just, you know, kind of crack it when it's done baking. So whatever you're into. 350 degrees, and I would say put it in there for 20 minutes, and then from then on, just really depending on how thick or thin you made your cracker, you can kind of feel how dry it is. And don't put it in until it's like completely hard either, because as it cools, I also think that it kind of dries out a bit more. So like 20 minutes first, and then afterwards, like every 10 minutes, like give it a check. Feel the cracker. Feel the cracker. Okay. So you can see it's slightly brown, but I also think you might think that it would need another 5 minutes, but because it does dry out a bit more, you don't want to get it too hard. This is pretty much the consistency. Okay. I mean, this side actually could do a little bit more, but we can put that back in. But essentially now what you want to do actually I might put this back in, is to just break it apart the way that you would want. Okay. I put it in for another couple minutes. And sometimes when it's done, you can actually flip it over and then let it dry like this, and then you pretty much just break it up, you know. And I mean, it is still warm, so it might not be as like crispy as you think it would, but I do think it hardens up a bit more.